Now, I must warn you, this video might be dangerous for you to watch. It may drastically change how you see our government and our place in the world. And just to let you know, there were barriers to me getting accurate information for this video. It took a lot to get this on the air, so please watch to the end. I believe you need to hear this. So do you realize that hundreds of billions of dollars are being squandered away in this war with Iran? A useless, ill-advised war against a country 6,338 miles away from Washington, D.C. Billions of dollars that could have went to fix American infrastructure, upgrading a collapsing healthcare system, and rebuild the social safety net needed by the most vulnerable members of our country. But instead, we're at war. So the first question is, who started it? The United States, Israel, or Iran? I'm David Tomsik, and this is Loud and Clear. Stay with me because I'm going to break down the Iran war for you. So who do you think started this war? Your choices are limited. The United States, Israel, or Iran? And for the next question, who is going to win it? Now, I'm going to tell you what I think at the end of this video, so stay tuned. And by the way, I found out where AI stands on this war. I'll explain that shortly. So let's analyze the war. The United States and Israel have air power and control the airspace over the Middle East. They have sophisticated aircraft, carrier strike groups, intelligence, and long-range strike capabilities. Iran has sophisticated missiles, drones, hardened facilities, regional partners, and the ability to choke off oil shipments leaving the Strait of Hormuz. This is both military and economic warfare. We should also note this, that Russia and China play a large part in this war. Both of these superpowers support Iran. In fact, Iran uses Chinese GPS, called in English Big Dipper, for their missile targeting. Now, before I continue, please let me know who you think started a war. Again, your choices are the U.S., Israel, or Iran. Just to let you know, the answer to this question is not as simple as the headlines want you to believe. Now, before we go any further, we need to define the conflict. Because the United States, Israel, and Iran have been in conflict for decades. There has been a nuclear dispute, American sanctions, proxy wars. Then there is Israel's war in Gaza and Lebanon, and their incursion into Syria. So when someone asks you who started the war, the honest answer is, which war are you talking about? So let's limit this conversation to the current phase of this war. This phase began with coordinated U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28, 2026. The stated objectives were unclear at first. In fact, they were unintelligible. Trump was all over the board with reasons, but failed to gain support for this war because the objectives were muddled. They included Iran's nuclear deal, its ballistic missile program, its navy, its military, its leadership, and its support for regional armed groups. President Trump also called for regime change. Now, to facilitate that order, the U.S. started with the assassination of Iranian leaders, which included an airstrike on the home of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. They also killed his daughter, his son-in-law, and his granddaughter. As a side note, this to me is bush league and was unnecessary. It only made things worse. Now, the U.S. and Israel murder people this way all the time, and the collateral damage to women and children is unacceptable to me. So Iran retaliated against Israeli and U.S. forces and American-linked facilities across the region. That retaliation was extremely destructive, but retaliation is not the same as initiation. So we can say with certainty that the U.S. began the war with Iran. Keep in mind that this war is considered illegal according to our Constitution, for those of you that don't remember. It was not approved by Congress. But once again, it seems that Donald Trump and both sides of the aisle in Congress are okay with breaking constitutional law. It's not the first time. So let's talk about America's fetish with Iran. Iran has been subject to economic and political sanctions for 47 years. Now, FYI here, historically sanctions don't work. They only hurt the population of the country being sanctioned. Many times they restrict food and medicine from the population. It seems many Americans are okay with that. Are you? Let me know in the comments section. Now, when researching this video, I found that American AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini were slightly biased. Although I'm always able to glean information from my own sources, I check these AI platforms for something I may have missed. Now, the problem I had with this topic is that the information these AI chatbots gave me was incorrect, a lot of it. And what information I did get was skewed toward the US and Israel. So as usual, a lot of the actual evidence of what's really happening in the world never reaches the US citizen. This is true with American legacy news agencies as well, who only get one side of the story and gloss over any information that looks bad for America. Now, I'm sure pressure is put on them by the Defense Department and the White House. This is because American power is held together by war. Powerful right-wing neoconservative think tanks, along with the vast majority of Republicans and Democrats, will always vote for war funding. In fact, many of these people, such as the recently deceased Lindsey Graham, have begged for a war with Iran for decades. It's the American thing to do, right? Now, do they really know best, or are they receiving huge campaign donations from the lobbyists to ultimately control them? I think it's a lot of both. Again, what do you think? Of course, Americans are expected to stand and wave the flag in support of these endless wars. We're all patriots, after all. American hegemony first, and then stand up and wave the flag as the bombs drop. Where does the loss of human life fit in? I'll let you know. It doesn't. Is this what our founding fathers wanted? I don't think so. But now I have a special word to right-wing MAGA and evangelical Christians. If you like war so much, quit your jobs and head to the Middle East. Pick up a weapon and go fight. Got it? So where did all this actually start? Well, over the years, the U.S., the British, and the French have continuously meddled in the Middle East. The main reason, of course, is, oil! Back in the 1900s, the French and the British divided up what was left of the Ottoman Empire and created the Middle Eastern countries out of thin air. Iraq, Jordan, Palestine, Israel, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE were all manufactured. They should never have existed. What could go wrong? Well, the creation of these countries set the stage for future conflicts. It also set the stage for modern-day American imperialism. Control a country by threat or attack, overthrow its leader, and replace them with someone who will go along with U.S. foreign policy goals. For instance, in 1953, the U.S. took part in a coup d'etat. They helped overthrow the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, and replaced him with Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, known to all of us as the Shah of Iran. See, he made the mistake of deciding to nationalize Iran's oil industry and kick the British out. What's worse here is that the Shah was a brutal dictator, but he was qualified for the job because he was loyal to the United States. So I will interject here. Over the years, the biggest problems in the world were created by imperialism, namely French, British, and American imperialism. This is why it is important to analyze current events by understanding history first. The Shah of Iran was hated. This led to a revolution in 1979 when the Shah was overthrown. America's biggest ally was deposed. What did the U.S. do? They imposed harsh sanctions on Iran. Sanctions that lasted 47 years. Sanctions that are still being imposed today. One of Iran's demands at the bargaining table was to lift those sanctions. I don't believe Trump will ever let that happen. Then you wonder why the Iranians hate us. So now that you're up to speed on some history, let's get back to the current war. In the big picture, this conflict is really about who will be the ultimate hegemonic power in the Middle East, the U.S., Israel, or Iran. Of course, the U.S. still remains, or at least believes it's the world hegemon. But China is closing the gap, and will in time take that title away from the U.S. Interesting, right? The U.S. has always tried to maintain control of the Middle East. There's oil there. So we built bases, bombed people, threatened people, droned people, and have overthrown leaders to maintain hegemony. Here's some facts you need to know that back this up. Retired U.S. Army 4-star general and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Wesley Clark is famous for revealing a highly controversial classified post-9/11 report. There was a Pentagon blueprint with a plan to overthrow 7 Middle Eastern and African governments in 5 years. Those countries? Listen to this: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. He revealed this in a famous 2007 interview with Democracy Now! We know this to be true from the facts on the ground. The U.S. overthrew Libya and Iraq, destabilized Syria, Yemen, and Somalia, and Israel is currently working on Lebanon. So the only one still intact is Iran. Out of 7 countries, there's 1 country left, and we're at war with them now. Interesting, don't you think, that we are at war with the last country on Americans' bucket list of destruction? Now keep in mind the U.S.'s role in bringing regime change to these countries ended up in death and destruction. Instead of control, we just destabilized the whole region. We pretty much effed up the entire Middle East. Once again, American gunship diplomacy failed like it did in Vietnam. As I mentioned previously, there is another huge reason why the U.S. is so entrenched in the Middle East. Oil. The U.S. wants to control the world's oil supply. Trump especially wants to be the mafia boss of oil. If you control oil, you control the world. So he will do anything to control the world's oil, including sending our children to fight and die in a foreign war. Now, the Iranians are smart people. They have seen American aggression in the Middle East time and time again. It's easy to understand why they have built sophisticated missiles, drones, and have joined with proxy groups. The U.S. has 8 military bases in the Middle East and dozens of outposts. They have used these platforms to launch attacks on both Iran and Syria. Now, during this current war, Iran has laid waste to all of these military installations. It's sad how much money and how many lives were lost because we were in a place we shouldn't have been. Maybe we should get the hint, save billions of dollars, and get the hell out of there. Fix a horrifically broken healthcare system. Fix our roads and bridges. And most importantly, help the growing number of people sliding into poverty. Remember, it was Donald Trump who just got done screwing the poor in the first place with his big, beautiful bill and tax cuts for the rich. Okay, if you enjoy videos like this one, help us continue by supporting the channel, by subscribing, hitting that like button, and sharing this video with someone who needs to know the truth. So let's keep this in mind. Iran is not the simple boogeyman presented to you in press conferences, blogs, and legacy news platforms. Iran can be dangerous, but it's not irrational. Iran sees American military power surrounding it. It sees how Israel's wars are supported by the U.S. It saw the destruction of Iraq, the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, attacks on its allies across the region, and decades of relentless sanctions. And from Tehran's point of view, Trump's multiple attempts at regime change in Iran is not an abstract phrase. It's an existential threat. And Iran believes if that threat is left unchecked, it will be destroyed, or worse yet, be controlled by the U.S. or Israel. That explains Iran's strategy. This war is an existential threat, and the Iranians have drawn a line in the sand to defend their country. So you know that Iran's conduct is reactionary, and its national security concerns are real. Now, if the world refuses to understand why Iran built missiles, drones, proxies, and nuclear leverage, they cannot understand why Iran has been so difficult to defeat. The question is whether making Iran the Middle East boogeyman will win us the war. I can tell you, it won't. It has only made things worse. Trump has very few options. He can escalate with everything in the U.S. arsenal, possibly even use tactical nukes, or he can compromise, or pull out. But knowing Trump's sociopathic tendencies, we must realize that compromise or pulling out of the Middle East is not an option. This war has already made the U.S. look weak and made Trump look incompetent. The bottom line here is that a powerful Iran is a geopolitical problem for Washington and Israel. Iran is a large country with a population around 93 million people. Iran is heavily armed. Iran sits beside the Persian Gulf. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Iran can influence Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen against the U.S. and Israel. And Iran refuses to accept permanent American control of the region. A powerful Iran would make it harder for Washington to dictate the security structure of the Middle East and limit Israel's thirst for more territory. This is why this is not just a conflict over a nuclear bomb or missiles. It's a conflict over regional power. Now let's look at the stated goals. The Trump administration said it wanted to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capability, eliminate its naval threat, prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, weaken its regional partners, and at various points encourage regime change. Then came Trump's demand for unconditional surrender. That phrase tells us something important. A country cannot negotiate a fair agreement while the other side is publicly demanding that it surrender without conditions. Now, this is not diplomacy. This is coercion with a temporary pause. Trump placed negotiations in the hands of Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. Both men are associated with real estate development and transactional deal-making. These two guys are not diplomats. They are clueless shills. Now, Iran sent real diplomats and hundreds of experts to the negotiating table in Pakistan, but Trump sent 2 real estate developers? Now, there are many theories as to why he did that. I don't really care. It was stupid. As a U.S. citizen, I would want my country to negotiate in good faith and come to a deal that benefits both sides. Send real diplomats, not real estate buffoons. And here's the central problem. These guys asked Iran to give up its leverage before it had received a credible guarantee that the United States and Israel would stop attacking it. Now, from Tehran's point of view, this is not a peace deal. It's not a negotiation. This is disarmament under threat. Now, I want to let you know the U.S. is not known for keeping its promises. This has been true for decades. So the question is, if you're the leader of Iran, would you trust the U.S.? I think Henry Kissinger summed it up best. To be an enemy of America is dangerous, but to be a friend is fatal. Believe me, Iran found this out the hard way when, during active negotiations before the war, Trump ordered the bombing of Iran. That's right, during a negotiation. That's just not Bush League. That's stupidity. But that's Trump's art of the deal. So would you trust the U.S.? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Now, next, I was going to discuss the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU as it's called. I am not. You see, Trump never intended to follow the agreements in that document. He was just buying time. He told us that he had to sign it because he didn't want to be Herbert Hoover, who was the president during the Great Depression. He also said that he had to sign it because the world was running out of oil. The economic stability of the world economy depends on that oil. So I believe he was hoping to get the Strait opened long enough to refill some of the strategic petroleum reserves. It was opened one day. That would never be enough. Trump was also buying time to restock dwindling munitions inventories while looking for other war options. None of that seemed to work. So what I am going to do is answer my initial question. Who's winning the war? Now, I guess to answer that, you have to define what winning really looks like. Now, for Donald Trump, winning is fairly simple. Get the Strait of Hormuz back open. But that doesn't get Trump out of hot water. The Strait was open before he started the war. No tolls, no Iranian control. No, Trump has to at least get a nuclear treaty signed. That won't be easy because before any discussions on nuclear enrichment, the Iranians wanted this: sanctions lifted, their frozen assets unfrozen, to maintain control of the Strait of Hormuz, and for Israel to stop its war in Lebanon. I have to tell you, that ain't going to happen. Trump will never willingly agree to any of that because it will look like he conceded to the Iranians. The art of the deal, baby. Not working here. So that brings us to right now. War. Trading missile strikes. There's talk once again about a possible ground invasion. Or drop troops into Iran and let them steal or destroy Iranian nuclear material. But Iran has the tactical advantage at home. Many military analysts say sending ground troops in would be dangerous. Iran still has standoff weapons, artillery, and drones. If a ground invasion is approved, it would be difficult just getting troops onto Iranian soil. The temperature ranges from 90 to 101 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity ranging around 90 to 99%. Keeping hydrated would be a full-time job. Then resupply would be a problem. Even though the U.S. has controlled the airspace over Iran, the result of that control has not opened the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran has once again struck a military base in Jordan. There were a lot of U.S. casualties. This can go on and on. Meanwhile, the U.S. is running out of missiles, including Patriot air defense missiles. If the war extends through August, this will be a huge problem for the U.S. Trump's only play might be that ground invasion. Let's hope not, because the U.S. could suffer tremendous casualties. So what to watch for next? Donald Trump is stuck in a quagmire, a word that is synonymous with the Vietnam War. Now, America's firepower, though impressive, will not bring an end to the war. Will a go be given on that ground invasion? Will there be an internal collapse of the Iranian regime, leading to negotiations or even outright surrender? Either way, the clock is ticking, and if Trump doesn't find a way out of this quagmire, the U.S. and the rest of the world will face even bigger problems. U.S. oil reserves are running empty. I did a video on that topic a week ago. I'll place a link in the description box to that video. Please watch it. As the reserves dwindle, Trump will lose his ability to manipulate the oil markets. Even now, gas prices are increasing and summer driving season is in full force. We are already seeing shortages in jet fuel and diesel, two products the transportation world can't live without. And don't forget fertilizer. Farmers do not have fertilizer, or if they do, it's extremely expensive. Higher prices on jet fuel makes airlines panic, raise prices, and cut services. Diesel fuel is what is used to transport just about everything consumers buy on a daily basis, including food. Keep an eye on your grocery prices because if you think they're high now, just wait till diesel rationing begins. Now, a side note on diesel. There will be shortages and higher prices because of the war in Ukraine. Russian refineries were hit by Ukrainian drones, which reduced the Russian production capacity of diesel. So the Kremlin cut all exports of diesel to the rest of the world. Russia supplies at least 10 to 15% of all global seaborne exports, so any reductions will cause shortages. Adding insult to injury, another group has entered the fray. The Houthi rebels of Yemen have once again began attacking commercial ships and are threatening the Red Sea route. They may decide to close it. This will cause prices to rise and cause shipping companies to reroute their vessels around Africa. And remember, midterm elections are around the corner here in the U.S. Donald Trump and the Republicans are facing a bloodbath in the coming 2026 midterms. His hopes of having a better outcome depend on what happens in the war over the next few months. All of these debacles make Donald Trump even more dangerous. He is known for striking out irrationally, and considering the dilemma he put the U.S. in, we should keep an eye on his Truth Social account. He uses that platform to lash out at his enemies. So who is really winning this war? My analysis says no one. The cost of this war, and any war, are always immense on both sides. Lives have been lost, including the lives of 162 little girls after the U.S. bombed their school on February 28th. American diplomacy is in shambles. Oil supplies are dwindling and world economies are headed for recession. Just days into the war, Donald Trump claimed victory. For Trump, everything is a zero-sum game, an opportunity to make a deal. He's the great deal maker. Here's a little news for you. He's not. So many lives lost, so much money spent, and so much damage done, it's almost hard to comprehend. Now, I can't say what the outcome of this war will be, but what I can say is that it's only going to get worse. Time is running out as strategic oil reserves dwindle, and the fallout of that will be catastrophic for the entire world, including the U.S. What you, the viewer of this video, must understand is that your country, our country, has strayed far away from our constitutional roots. I can tell you firsthand that right-wing Christians cheered Donald Trump and the Republicans when they took money out of Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Christian empathy is dying in America. They had no problem knowing that the money taken away from the poor went directly to billionaires. The rich and the powerful rule America. While they get richer, we leave millions of disadvantaged Americans without quality health care or food. Our infrastructure is a disaster. Good jobs are dwindling, while food, housing, and car prices have exploded. Meanwhile, Donald Trump will spend billions to start a war he cannot win. We need to be better. We need to be that light on a hill with no shadow of a warplane flying over cities in the Middle East. We need to lead by example. Peace and diplomacy should dominate our geopolitical battles, not war, not death, and not destruction. Tell us here at Clear Signal what you think. Leave a comment below. If this content helped you get a clearer picture of what's happening in the Middle East, please subscribe and share this video now and hit that like button. And while you're at it, check out our sister channel on YouTube, Loud and Clear, where we talk about faith, culture, and politics. I'll drop a link in the description box to that channel. So I'll see you next time right here on Clear Signal. Be safe.